Good morning. My name is Steve Janz, and welcome to my YouTube series for Intermediate Financial Accounting 2, also known as FA3. We're going to take a look at a complex financial instruments questions today on bond conversion. Now, this is a process-oriented journal entry that we're going to create. It's a 6-part journal entry, one of the biggest journal entries we create in this course, and I want to identify with you the strategy, the process on how to create this journal entry. Let's start by taking a look at the initial information for this question, and we're going to look at Dopey Corporation. One of the things that you see when you read this question is that the bonds themselves have a face value of $7 million. Now, students struggle with the next concept. These bonds were issued at 99. What does that mean? It means that they were issued at 99% of their face value, and that's the cash that the company received. So that's our first journal entry. That's the starting point. Let's do the cash entry. So cash, face value of the bonds, $7 million. Issued at 99%, so the amount of cash that we would receive, $6,930,000. So that's one of the key concepts I wanted to make sure you understand as you go through this problem. Now, at this point, you know how to do the present value calculations really well. You know how to do the effective interest schedule really well. So let's complete the original and the first entry. So the present value of this for the bonds payable, $6,508,349. Well, it doesn't balance. What's missing? Well, what's missing here is the credit. Remember, these bonds can be converted into common shares. There's value there. And as you've seen in this course, we use that value. We create and put that into a contributed surplus account. So contributed surplus, bond conversion, the difference, 421,651. So that's the amount we can attribute to the ability for these bondholders to convert into common shares. So what happens after a few years? They decide to convert 100%. So on April 1st, 2018, they are offered an incentive of $350,000 to convert, and they do. At that time, the value of these bonds is $6,925,000. So all of that is very important information as we start the big journal entry, the 6 parts. So, as always, I say when you're starting a big entry like this and it's challenging, just start. Put down the easiest information. So let's do that. We'll get the journal entry started, and then we'll fill in the toughest areas. So first off, when we take a look at this entry now, we're going to have to pay $350,000 to the bondholders. So that's going to be the incentive for them to convert into common shares. Now, why would a company want them to convert into common shares? Straightforward. So they don't have to pay them interest anymore. And they can preserve that cash, hopefully for great investments, and help the company grow and do better. So again, a lot of times, cash preservation, it's really important. Now, looking at your effective interest schedule, and calculating that over the period of time and making sure you're very careful in choosing exactly when this occurs, you see that the value of the bonds payable is $6,666,000. So we have to take the bonds payable and reduce it down to 0. We have to remove it. So $6,666,342. Now, when we originally set this question up, we had contributed surplus set up. Now, because this has been converted, this no longer is relevant. This needs to be taken down to 0 as well. So our contributed surplus, bond conversion, 421,651, that needs to be reduced down to 0 as well. So we've got 3 out of the 6 parts of this entry done. And again, this is a 6-part entry. It's a big entry, but don't let it intimidate you. Solve the easiest part first. You paid $350,000 cash. Here's the value of the bonds when they are redeemed and converted. Here's the contributed surplus that was set up. So what we have left are the three more challenging parts. So how do we do that? We set up a process, a schedule to do that. So here's where we need to look at the fair value. So step number 1, we need to figure out what is our debt retirement expense. That's what we're looking to solve here. So the fair value of our bonds, $6,925,000. Well, what was the carrying value? At the time, we basically had this converted. Well, that was $6,666,342. Well, that difference is our expense, $258,658. So that is our debt retirement expense. So debt retirement expense, $258,658. Now, we paid more than that debt retirement expense. We actually paid $350,000. So that amount basically is the amount that we're going to pay out of retained earnings to have these bonds converted. So the amount that we paid, $350,000. Our debt retirement expense was $258,658. So the amount that we pay out of retained earnings, the portion attributable to the options, $91,342. So retained earnings, $91,342. So as you can see, we've got a lot of information here on the debit side. What are we missing on the credit side? The common shares. That's what we're basically exchanging the bonds for with the bondholders. Instead of them owning bonds and receiving interest, they now will receive the common shares. So everything else goes to our common shares. And again, debits must equal credits. So the amount that goes to the common shares and how much we attribute there will be equal to $7,087,993. So I hope that helps you solving this. Again, you need to learn the process, the step 1, the step 2, on how to complete your journal entry. But also remember that that 98% or 99% affects the cash that you receive when you originally basically issue these bonds. So in that first entry, recognize that if the face value is $7 million and you receive 98 or 99 or 101, that has to be considered when you do the cash entry part. I hope this helps. Have a good day.